Whether you are a longtime fan of the ThunderCats or you are new to this franchise, I am sure you would agree when I say that the Lord of the ThunderCats is a beloved hero. His fearlessness, his level-headedness, and, of course, his undaunting bravery is something we can all be inspired by. Ever since the original 1980s version, the beloved series has been rebooted quite a few times, and today, we at Marvelous Videos will be delving deep into all the different versions of this fearless leader. Join us as we understand how, with each adaptation, Lion-O grew into being one of the most iconic pop culture heroes of all time. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. The OG version. For our loyal fans, the Lion-O they remember most is undoubtedly the OG version, voiced by Larry Kenney. The original Lion-O's character design is absolutely iconic. His long, wavy scarlet hair and ginger orange eyes exude main character energy from the get-go. Built like a tank, he's tall, broad-shouldered, and boasts a muscular physique that's impossible to ignore. The blue armor he wears perfectly complements his overall aesthetic, making him a standout figure in the series. Did you know that in the show's production notes, Lion-O was described as the largest and most perfectly proportioned character? He's essentially a 6'9" bodybuilder, and when he wields his metal lion's claw, you know things are about to get intense. While this version of Lion-O gave us countless cherished moments, his backstory is undeniably tragic. For those unfamiliar, Lion-O was one of the few Thunderian nobles who survived the destruction of their home planet Thundera and made the journey to Third Earth. This trip was expected to take a long time, so the then 12-year-old Lion-O, like the other nobles, including Wily Cat and Wily Kit, was placed in a suspension capsule. However, Lion-O's capsule malfunctioned in a way no one could have foreseen. While his mind remained that of a child, his body continued to grow. By the time the ThunderCats flagship reached Third Earth, Lion-O was physically 24 years old. Despite having the body of an adult, Lion-O's mind remained that of a young boy. Although he adapted to this change remarkably quickly, he never questioned why Wily Cat and Wily Kit hadn't aged. This transformation placed a heavy burden on his shoulders. He was thrust into the role of an adult, expected to take on responsibilities and prove himself through the anointment trials against the other ThunderCats. However, his immaturity and naivety often made this a challenging transition. Throughout the series, we watch Lion-O's journey as he faces numerous challenges and gradually grows into the true leader we all remember him as. I've always loved stories where the chosen one has to earn their place through hard work rather than having everything handed to them. It adds depth and complexity to their character and allows us, the audience, to feel like we're part of their journey. Though Lion-O is skilled and cunning, he's not without his flaws. Seeing him overcome his weaknesses and triumph against all odds is one of the most rewarding aspects of the show. His first victory against Mum-Ra is especially memorable. Not only does he defeat Mum-Ra, but he does so in Mum-Ra's own pyramid, exploiting the fact that Mum-Ra relies on his sarcophagus for his power. After passing the anointment trials with flying colors, Lion-O is crowned leader of the ThunderCats in a grand ceremony attended by everyone on Third Earth. I'll admit, watching him get crowned felt deeply satisfying, like we, as viewers, had been part of this journey and shared in his triumph. Of course, as we all know, becoming the leader of the ThunderCats didn't mark the end of Lion-O's responsibilities. If anything, they only increased. Mum-Ra frequently returned, scheming to eliminate Lion-O once and for all, but Mum-Ra's plans always failed because Lion-O was never someone who could be defeated easily. Lion-O in 2011. However, I'm sure many of our younger fans grew up watching the 2011 reboot of ThunderCats. In this series, the younger Lion-O is voiced by the fantastic Tara Strong, while the older Lion-O is voiced by Will Friedle. This Lion-O, unfortunately, does not have the long, luscious hair that could easily star in a Pantene commercial. Instead, the series follows him as a young adult with spiky red hair. His eye color also deviates from the original ginger hue, settling into a striking teal. While he retains the pale blue armor, this version is much more covered and looks more defined and thoughtfully designed compared to the original. Although he is a young adult for most of this series, it doesn't mean our favorite leader of the ThunderCats is at a disadvantage. Lion-O can be a little hot-headed, as one might expect from someone his age, but he is also incredibly observant. In fact, he is the first to realize that Mum-Ra is still alive, even as everyone else insists that Mum-Ra is no longer a threat worth worrying about. Lion-O also happens to be a natural people person, whether he's being a flirty ladies' man man or standing up for what's right, you can always count on him. In this series, Claudius is still the ruler, making Lion-O a prince. Following the death of his mother, Queen Leona, shortly after his birth, Lion-O was raised by Claudius and his adoptive brother Tigra. At a young age, Lion-O was chosen by the Sword of Omens, which led Claudius to place high expectations on him. However, Lion-O's interest in science and technology often clashed with Claudius's traditional views, frustrating his father. As Tigra aligned more closely with Claudius's expectations, Claudius often showed favoritism toward him, which understandably upset Lion-O. This favoritism created tension between the brothers, exacerbated by Tigra's competitive nature. In one particularly dramatic incident, Tigra pushed Lion-O into a pit in the Forbidden Ruins. Though Tigra initially left Lion-O there, he soon regretted his actions and sought help. This traumatic event further strained their already fragile relationship. Fortunately, over time, the brothers managed to reconcile and grow closer. As Lion-O came of age, he began visiting the slums of Thundera to learn more about the artifacts of technology he had heard so much about. These visits exposed him to the harsh mistreatment many animals endured in the slums. This compassionate side of Lion-O is one of his most commendable traits and highlights why he makes such a great leader. During one of these visits, he meets Chitara, who rescues him after he inadvertently starts a fight with some thugs. Lion-O later participates in the ceremony of the Rite of Passage, during which he has a vision of the future, though he struggles to understand its meaning. This series is filled with twists and turns. After the first season, Dan Norton, the show's director, revealed plans for a second season. The second season would have started with a shocking moment, Tigra killing Palmyra to protect Lion-O as he viewed her as a threat after the events of season 1. Recognizing the need for more training, Lion-O would have returned to the Book of Omens, spending 10 years there. When he emerged a decade later, Wily Kit would develop romantic feelings for him. Meanwhile, Tigra and Chitara would have gotten together and had a son named Bengali. Following this reunion, the Thundercats would join forces with the Third Earth Rebellion for a final battle against Mum-Ra. Victory would come at a cost, and the showrunners debated whether Tigra should sacrifice his life in the battle. If Tigra were to die, Lion-O would honor him by showing Bengali statuses of past kings, with Tigra's statue included as a tribute to his bravery. Eventually, Lion-O and Wily Kit would ascend as rulers of Thundera, achieving their happily ever after. While this story sounds incredible, the show, unfortunately, was not renewed for a second season. It would have been amazing to witness this saga unfold on screen. Silver Age Lion-O. Did you know that ThunderCats had a comic book run as part of Marvel Comics? Rankin/Base, the creators of the original American television series, saw the ThunderCats comics published monthly by Marvel Comics during the 1980s while the original show was still airing. These comic books primarily followed the adventures depicted in the television series, acting as a retelling of the show. This series lasted for 24 issues and concluded in 1988. Later, Marvel UK launched another ThunderCats comic book series which ran for 129 issues over 3 years. The 1980s comics leaned heavily into science fiction and fantasy, portraying Thundera as a place where technology was rarely used due to the Thunderian law prohibiting it. Despite this, Lion-O chose to explore both technology and sorcery, defying societal norms. The series often focused on Mum-Ra's relentless attempts to acquire the Eye of Thundera, the crystal housed within the Sword of Omens. To thwart Mum-Ra's plans and protect the crystal's power, the Thundercats faced off against him repeatedly. Mum-Ra was also in pursuit of the Book of Omens, hoping to use its knowledge to dominate Third Earth. Despite its intriguing storyline and ties to the television series, the comic's retelling format failed to attract a wide audience, leading to the original run ending after 24 issues. Old Man Lion-O. Published in August of 2003, John Layman created a 5-part comic book series published by Wildstorm Comics that follows the life of the Thundercats a decade after defeating Mum-Ra. As it turns out, Wily Cat has gone missing and everyone assumes he is dead. However, he has been living on his own, hoping to find some peace and learn to live with himself. This journey of self-reflection comes to an abrupt stop when he sees the War Dogs arrive in Thundera. The War Dogs, led by Supreme Alpha Doberlord, plan to take Thundera for themselves. They know they will have to face the Thundercats, but they are willing to wreak havoc wherever they go to gain the upper hand. At first, Wily Cat believes they can't possibly bring anything to the table that the Thundercats cannot handle. However, when he notices the massive machines and ships they have prepared for the fight, Wily Cat realizes it is crucial for him to warn the Thundercats about the impending doom. assume. Since he has been living in the forest, the royal palace guards do not recognize him at first. They assume he is a crazy homeless kid who wishes to meet the king. They deny him entrance, but just then, Wily Cat hears Wily Kit scolding the young cubs Wily Cub and Wily Cat. While the guard explains who they are, Wily Cat scales the walls and sneaks into the royal palace under the cover of darkness. Cheetara and Tigra mistake Wily Cat for an assassin sent to kill them and immediately attack him. Luckily, Tigra recognizes Wily Cat just before Cheetara lands a fatal blow. As they start talking, the Thunder Kittens and Wily Kit stumble into trouble. They accidentally encounter the War Dog's troops. They remain silent, but the dogs manage to sniff them out. Just as things are about to take a turn for the worse, with the Thunder Kittens grossly overpowered, Bobcat, the first officer of the Thunderian Royal Guard, shows up to rescue them. He helps Wily Kit and the Thunder Kittens safely back to the palace. As Tigra embraces the cubs, Cheetara invites Wily Cat to join Lion-O to discuss the impending attack. By the time she goes upstairs, Lion-O receives a transmission from the Supreme Alpha directly declaring war. While Wily Kit is happy to see Wily Cat alive, the rejoicing is cut short when all the ThunderCats notice an ominous presence among them. It turns out Lion-O has sought Mum-Ra's help to defeat the War Dogs. Lion-O chose Mum-Ra because he is aging rapidly, almost 5 times faster than the other ThunderCats. He feels he should no longer be on the throne as his body is giving out. Faced with a new threat, Lion-O decides to ally with the strongest person he knows, even though this unlikely ally has been his sworn enemy for the longest time. While Mum-Ra seems okay with the partnership, the mutants who follow him feel otherwise. To win their allegiance, Lion-O offers to defeat them in hand-to-hand combat. If they lose, they must join him. Unsurprisingly, Lion-O defeats them fair and square, and the mutants are forced to follow him. This is also where we learn that Wily Cat betrayed the ThunderCats 10 years ago by joining Mum-Ra in the fight. That is why he believed he should stay away from the ThunderCats after the battle. Despite his lingering resentment towards Mum-Ra, who seduced him to the dark side, Wily Cat agrees to join forces against their common foe. Much to the ThunderCats' chagrin, Lion-O insists they follow Mum-Ra's plan. Bobcat and Mum-Ra breach the War Dogs' base together. Bobcat fights the dogs while Mum-Ra uses his magic to subdue them. Using his powers, Mum-Ra disguises everyone to look like War Dogs. With everyone disguised, Lion-O pretends to be captured. However, just before they enter the base, Jackalman kicks Snarf away. As Lion-O wonders about this unexpected move, the Supreme Alpha appears, confirming Lion-O's worst fears. He has been betrayed. It turns out Mum-Ra never actually participated in the mission. The one posing as Mum-Ra was General Lupus, one of the War Dogs, who wore Mum-Ra's skin and pretended to help the ThunderCats. Meanwhile, the real Mum-Ra was left impaled on a stick back at the castle. The Thunder Kittens find him in this state and initially assume he is dead. However, Mum-Ra tells them to stop poking around, proving he is still alive. Credits where it's due, the War Dogs' plan is quite clever. Everyone believes it was Mum-Ra who betrayed the ThunderCats, enabling the War Dogs to take the king hostage with ease. The resulting blame would ensure that the remaining ThunderCats would seek vengeance against Mum-Ra, eliminating a key threat to the War Dogs. Mum-Ra reveals he was betrayed by Jackalman, who bit off his arm. Upon hearing this, the Thunder Kittens devise a plan to save Lion-O while restoring Mum-Ra's honor. Back in the brig, where the ThunderCats and mutants are held together, Cheetara prepares for a full-on assault. Meanwhile, Lion-O learns about the War Dogs' savage ways from the reptiles enslaved by them. The Thunder Kittens' plan is simple but effective. They pose as prisoners while Mum-Ra takes on the guise of the Supreme Alpha. They infiltrate the prison and rescue the ThunderCats. The escape coincides with Cheetara and her group launching their attack. Initially, Cheetara assumes Mum-Ra is the traitor, but the Thunder Kittens quickly explain the situation. With the misunderstanding cleared, Mum-Ra transforms into his ever-living form and joins the fight. The mutants, ThunderCats, and Mum-Ra overwhelm the War Dogs. Komodomar, the leader of the reptilians, also joins the fight after being inspired by Lion-O's leadership. Seeing their leader free, the reptilian slaves revolt, leading to the War Dogs' defeat. Only the Alpha remains. As Lion-O delivers a heroic speech, Mum-Ra interrupts, defeating the Alpha with a single blow. With the Alpha defeated, Lion-O offers Komodomar and his people a place in New Thundera, but Komodomar declines, choosing instead to repair the damage they caused. Lion-O also grants Vultureman a War Dog ship to return to Plundar with the other mutants, taking Jackalman as a slave. Lion-O extends an offer of redemption to Mum-Ra, but Mum-Ra refuses. He admits he enjoys their rivalry and leaves with a promise to meet Lion-O again. Mum-Ra also hints at a solution for Lion-O's aging problem, leaving the ThunderCats hopeful. While in the last issue, Old Man Lion-O becomes the adult Lion-O he should have been, I have to say, I quite liked the way Old Man Lion-O looked. He looked rather elegant, with a streak of white in his long mane. ThunderCats Roar. The last version of Lion-O we have for you guys today is the version we see in the ThunderCats Roar cartoon series. The animation style is really cute and quite unique. Imagine the cutest childlike caricature of Lion-O, and you have the Lion-O from ThunderCats Roar. Look at his chubby cheeks! Isn't he cute? Here, Lion-O and the ThunderCats were escaping Thundera in their flagship right before the planet exploded. Their flagship, however, ended up becoming a target of the mutants, forcing them to crash land on the third Earth. That's where their adventures began. While up until now, the Lion-O we have seen has been reliable, mature, and wise, this Lion-O is quite immature. He's very impulsive and jumps into action without thinking thoroughly. He uses the Sword of Omens, but he does not always understand the full extent of its powers. Despite not knowing the power of the sword, somehow, Lion-O always manages to use it to his advantage. In this series, he also uses the Claw Shield to climb up great heights, which adds a nice touch to this version of Lion-O. Max Mittelman did a splendid job voicing this version of Lion-O, and I'm sure every ThunderCats fan will enjoy this modern reboot of the series that came out in 2020.
I'm sorry.
Marvelous verdict. With that, guys, we come to the end of our video. Over the years, the different reboots of Lion-O have somehow always managed to feel fresh. No matter what changes in the story, the main things that make Lion-O have always remained the same: courage, loyalty, and selflessness. No matter which version of the ThunderCats you have seen, I am sure Lion-O's character has always caught your eye. His journey as a hero will always be memorable for being one of the many examples of heroes who stand for unity and justice. Let us know in the comments which Lion-O you like the most, and I will catch you guys next time. ThunderCats Ho! And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.